Oh, Darren. Darren. Best friend Darren.
Hi. Good evening.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Are you echoing? Am I echoing? Why is it
No,
echo?
I don't hear an echo.
Okay. Now it's gone. Were you
Doing nothing but saying hi, but this loud basement is huge.
okay?
My voice carries. Yeah.
Your voice does okay. Hey, Tristle's on. Hey, best friends. My twins are here. One is here in person, and the other one is virtual.
She's on the
And
next
she's on
series.
time. Who's best friend? Mine.
She on the next series.
Honestly, I really wish I could get her on there. I really do.
You
I
really do?
think I think I want to do a live with um with teenagers. I want to do a series with teenagers. I think that would be dope.
With teenagers. That would be very interesting.
Yeah. Because mental health in teenage land, it exists. It is a thing. And it's like, ooh, let me um
Let's bring a bunch of guys into this.
yeah, it's for y'all. Anyways, hello. Your teenager said, hi, Naomi. T May says, hey. Where's my aunt? Did I share it?
Mm,
You know, since you got me hip to the what is this stuff called? The lo-fi.
well, I'm glad you found something that you can vibe out to.
The lo-fi.
Very relaxing. It can bring a lot of peace to your day and and reduce some of the chaos that you have going on. Well,
Talk
people.
about it. Chaos is a thing. It is a thing. Um
Yeah.
Anyways, are you ready to be talked about? So I'm gonna brag about my best friend.
I don't think we're gonna be talked about. I do think we're gonna have a very interesting discussion.
Yeah, of course we are. Because you are the motivation. You are part. But you know what? We'll save that for the introductions. The important thing is that we invite the folks and then the folks come in, and then I'm going to brag about my best friend. So it's okay. So get all the nervous little jitters out, and then we're gonna go.
Ma'am, I don't get nervous.
Oh, excuse me. You
No,
yeah.
no, don't let that fool you. I get nervous.
It's okay. It's just me. It's just little me.
And Crystal,
We have conversations all the time.
not in a live format, but
I,
let's see. Maybe this will change. Maybe this will change my mind. Maybe this will change my mind.
you can co-host with me.
I don't know about that. No. Start me off with something
Your
small.
brother's here.
Start me off
Hi,
with something
brother.
small. I'll get you coffee, show up on screen for a second and dip out. I'll talk in the background while you are live. How about that?
Did you not? Are you not going to acknowledge your brother? Your brother's here
I didn't know
from
he's there. What's up, bro?
Korea. Is that where he is?
All the way from South Korea. It is about
South Korea. And Auntie Joyce is here. My best friend is here. This is going to be great. This is going to be
oh, you
great.
can see the messages pop up. That's awesome.
I took okay. Well, and my father. He is here. Okay. I think he means running in, not running in, but anywho. All right, so it's about that time. It is 7:35. Everybody, welcome to this lovely conversation. I will be all smiles because the man you see to the right of me is my best friend in the whole wide world. His name is Darren. But let me just say, so this Black Man Heal series, you guys, that you have been privy to, this is episode 5. Okay. And I was like thinking I need to do something in the new year, ending last year, starting the new year. And I was like, the conversations I have with Darren and some of the men that you already seen, I was like, there has to be a platform for men to share. So the Black Man Hill series is partially like created because of this man right here. Okay, he is the inspiration behind it. And so it took some coercion on my part to
Why?
get him on camera because Darren is not a camera guy, but he did it for me, which again, this is what best friends do. Listen, the reason why this man right here is my best friend is because him and his friend at the time came all the way down from Maryland to see me preach. And I can't even get people who live around the corner to come see me preach. But he traveled on a bus. What was that, 8 hours?
Give or take a little bit, yeah.
Give or take.
Anybody
8 hours.
that haven't seen it, they're missing out. Missing out.
And so I said, you know what, we're gonna have to bring him on because he is part of the inspiration behind this. God is the other side. And yes, he is. Hey, your mom's here. Auntie Joyce is here. Hey, y'all. Hey, fam. So,
Seriously. Hi, fam.
without further ado, you guys, I want to introduce to the y'all. I have referenced him. I don't even know how many times during one single live, but nonetheless, world, you can finally put a name to the face. Darren Day, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you, Jermaine. You gave a wonderful introduction. I will admit it did take some effort and arm pulling on her part, virtual arm pulling, to get me online. I'm not an extrovert, despite what people may think. I'm very, very, very shy. So this will be fun for me.
Mm-hmm. 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 So I didn't give the background information about who he is and all of this lovely stuff because I'm just excited. It's my best friend. So Darren is in the IT world. He is my go-to person whenever computers, because computers isn't my thing, you know? I can talk to people, I can fix world problems, mental problems, emotional problems, but computers, not a thing. So Darren is also the secretary of NESB. Now, wait, don't tell me what NESB stands for because I know. National.
Mhm.
Mm,
You got one right. Mhm.
National Engineer Society of Black Engineers.
You missed you mixed the rest of the three around, but you were there. You were there. It's the National Society of Black Engineers. I sit on the board this year. I'm honored to serve as secretary for our DC chapter.
Oh yeah,
It's an
y'all.
organization.
He's in DC, by the way.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm in the DMV area. It's an organization that seeks to, bring more Black engineers, Black students that go to school for STEM backgrounds for the undergraduate or graduate's degree into the fold, so to have more representation in the tech space, in the tech world, for people like us.
Yes, Darrell, he is an IT goat because he does what he does. And yes, and so sounds like someone is, he's secretary material. He basically just said the mission statement right there for you guys. This is why he's here. Black excellence, ladies and gentlemen. That man right there. All right. So let's get into the topic. Side effects. Okay.
Mhm.
Now I was kind of talking with Darren. Darren's gonna share however much he wants to share about his mental health experience. And, because we have had a lot of talks over the years. And I'm so glad that he's here and to share his story. So, Darren, let's open it up with your mental health journey, what it's been, when it started, how well are you managing it? Share with the people.
I mean, I want to say it's difficult to pinpoint like exactly when, like I would say, like my mental health journey started. Because I can say from like a youth, a teenager, like I was very much like ignorant to like mental health stigmas, like things young boys go through. So I would say my mental health journey started in my 20s. For example, where I started to notice, you know, issues is what I will call them, in symptoms where, the feeling of antisocial pops up, where it's like all of a sudden I don't want to interact. All of a sudden I'm not feeling up to the task of giving someone my energy, for example. So I would say I didn't start recognizing it until, like my mid 20s or so. But then during that process and during that journey, it did allow me to start to be a little bit more retrospective to what I went through as a child, what I went through as a teenager, and leading up into me being an adult and a grown man.
Mm,
So I would say my journey itself has been, I would say, very short, like over the past 10 years has been what my journey has been of me actively working on it, but speaking with therapists, talking to people, understanding, like there's a lot to unpack, from a young boy that, missed out on some social cues, like that didn't have an understanding of, relationships and structures and their own emotions. So it's still a lot of unpacking to do, I'm sure. No mental health journey is ever complete off of I found a therapist.
mhm, mhm. So let's talk about therapy, right? And we can talk about medication too. What was that moment, or maybe it was a series of moments where you said, okay, I can't do this on my own? What promoted you to get the help, seek out the help, and to consistently go?
Huh, that's a good one. What prompted me, to, like started seeking out, like help, I wouldn't say from the mental health perspective. It was actually a relationship that I was in. I was in a very, I want to say, very emotionally and verbally abusive relationship where, it was hard trying to understand each other. It was becoming difficult to communicate. And I felt so alone in those moments, and it
Mm,
was recommended, maybe you should look for a therapist, maybe you find and talk to somebody, you don't have to do this like kind of thing by yourself. So I searched around. This was probably like over 10 years ago. I searched around and found a therapist. It was a lady, it was a black lady, and she brought me into her office, and I remember a lot of the stigmas that I had. Like one of the things that gave me the courage to actually look for therapists was, it was a book I was reading. I think the author was Terrence Neal, and the book was called "I Don't Want to Talk About It." And
mm,
it spoke about the stigmas of Black men and how they feel when they want to speak to someone about their mental health issues, about maybe I'm feeling sad, maybe I don't know what depression is, but I think I have it kind of thing, and how to, one, deal with, like the confrontations of people trying to, I want to say, stigmatize you, but then make you feel like something is wrong with you, but not necessarily wanting to help. So that book kind of like propelled me. And then, the issues I was going with in my relationship said, let me seek out help. So I went into their doctor, the lady's doctor's office, and our first meeting, because I was just so scared that I was going to be labeled crazy. I was going to be labeled sick. I was going to be labeled like something is just disastrously wrong with you. In our first few minutes, I literally looked at her and said, I don't want to be on medication. I'm here, I'm doing my part. Don't put me on any medicine. I'm not crazy. And she looked at me, like, they do what they do, they scribble something down. And she was like, okay. But the sessions themselves, like after that first initial session, and like the couple after like getting to know each other, they went very well. It made me feel very differently about seeking help. When something is going wrong, when something feels a little weird mentally, it didn't make me feel as crazy as the world likes to make you feel as a grown man, saying, hey,
mm.
I got some issues I want to talk about, and it's not girl related, or it's not money related, or anything like that. It's just I'm feeling a little down.
Yeah, I love that. Okay. So you said, I don't want to go on meds, but then eventually you got yourself on there. So what changed? What was that thing where it's like, all right, we'll try it. We'll see how this goes. What was it?
I mean, honestly, like my introduction, like I guess to taking like antidepressants and things, it didn't come to like my first, I want to say my first therapy appointment, like the first time I've gone to therapy, that was probably 2015. I want to say 2015, 2014, around that time is when I first started seeking therapy and was like, okay, I like how this is going. I didn't actually start looking or just taking like medicine until I want to say a couple years ago, and that wasn't voluntary for me. I without being not trying to be overly emotional about it, I want to say a couple years ago I did suffer from, it was a suicide attempt. And part of that process in the state of Maryland is any suicide attempts where you have brought harm to yourself or have sought to bring harm to yourself. And they want to say somebody calls 911 and they do a wellness check. You have to check in to voluntary, or if you feel very adamant about not going, involuntary services for 3 days. So it was during that time where I was in a mental health institution where they prescribed me, whether I liked it or not, antidepressants. The doctor that prescribed it to me definitely gave me, give me the full breakdown of the medicine that I was taking. Like, this is what SSRIs do for your body. There's some side effects to them. There are some benefits to them. But while you're here, you will at least be on this medication. So I want to say, honestly, it wasn't I want to try something new, something is majorly wrong with me. It was a crisis that I went through, and this is what brought me to that foray.
Mm-hmm.
After, however, like going through, like taking the medication, and getting through, I want to say, the initial effects of it entering your system, I definitely had a very different view on what antidepressants and SSRIs do for people that need assistance, because you have people that have very, very chronic mental health illnesses where they need medication with the assistance of a mental health professional like a therapist or a psychiatrist to help them cope with whatever they're going. So after going through that, it did break a lot of the stigma that I was initially like, you're crazy, something is wrong with you, like you must be bipolar, or that's initially what I thought when somebody says, oh, I'm taking medication, I'm on medicine or something. It's like, yeah, you have a big issue, that was what I did not want to be labeled as, like at any point of my life, because it's already hard enough, trying to get people to understand you, trying to communicate your thoughts, your feelings, and always feeling like, and having to portray that everything is okay. It's already hard enough to do that. I didn't want to have the stigma of being crazy, like thrown on me on top of everything else, because there's no comfort, in moments like that. And I don't want to label, specifically all men, because some men are lucky enough to find wives, find friends, have best friends that will, like keep them grounded, keep them safe, ask them what it is that they're needed. But there are a lot of people where you have to wear all of your sins, all of your burdens right on your back, because no one checks in the way that they need to check in. It's a, you good? Okay, not a, hey, I'm sensing you're having a little issues, like the past few days, what do you need kind of thing. It's just a, you all right? Okay, toughen up then. You gotta get through this
Mm-hmm.
week. And that's how a lot of men feel walking through their days, walking through their moments, where that quick check-in, it sounds like it's great, but it's like, no, we need a deeper check-in than that. I had a friend and call them pulse checks at one point, like, let's do a pulse check. Like, how are you feeling? Let's sit down, let's talk. And tell me how you're feeling, kind of thing. And I feel like there's not a lot of men that get that check. So unfortunately, when it gets pressed upon them, it's when they're already at their wits' end. It's when they've been dealing with so much. The reaction to what it is that they're going through, this one small thing, was that one domino that tipped the whole thing over. But during this process, there was clear enough signs where it's like, he's carrying a lot of weight, but we're expected to as well.
Mm-hmm. Mhm. Ugh, listen, best friend, drop those pearls of wisdom, sir. So you said a lot. First of all, thank you for sharing. Obviously, I already knew about this, but the fact that you're willing to share on my platform, it means the absolute world to me. Darren was talking a lot about how the stigmas that exist make it very difficult for men to seek help. People in general, yes. People of color in general, yes. But that stigma that he ended with by saying, like, we're just supposed to be strong. Like, I don't even know what strength means these days because, like, what is that? Be strong, be a man. What does that mean? We're of that generation. We're millennials, right? So it's
Mm,
like, don't just say something and then you expect us to be like, okay, cool. Like my mom used to always say, because I said so. And I'm like, Mom, I don't know what that means. I need definitions. I need clarity.
mm.
I don't dwell
Don't
with
worry about the
ambiguity.
reason,
Like
just do it.
right. Ambiguity, like I can't
Mhm,
do that. And so when people make statements like that, it's like, okay, first of all, you're promoting the idea and the concept that, like you said, people who go to therapy, get counseling, take medication, they're crazy. And it's like, I'm sorry. Life happens to all of us, and all of us sometimes have moments where life will like sucker punch you in the gut, and you're just like, yeah, I can't continue. And for
mhm,
you, again, thank you for sharing and being transparent about the suicide that you had, the ideation that you had. I think the beauty of it is that even though it wasn't voluntary, we know, you continue to take them. And so part A of why it's called side effects is because psychotropic medication, aka medication that you take for your mental health,
mm.
there's side effects to it, right? There's benefits for sure. Then there's the side effects. So if you don't mind sharing, Darren, what were the benefits that the medication helped you with, and then the side effects?
Mm. Okay, some of the benefits. Let me see. I'm trying to remember the medication that I was on at the time. For anybody listening that has questions or maybe on it themselves, I'm trying to. I think it was Wellbutrin, is what I was taking. So it was a very, she gave me like a very small doses of it. It was something you took, I want to say, and I took it in the evening because one of the negative side effects was, feeling tiredness. So it was, she was like, don't take this on the day. I still work. So you do not want to be taking a nap in the middle of your day, working on somebody's computers and the phone just goes dead. So I took mine at night. And I would say some of the benefits that I received from it, it was not so much, it's kind of hard to call it a benefit, because it gave you the feeling of, for me, feeling what feels like normal. Not having like an overreaction to emotions, like instead of it being black and white for some people, you're either angry or you're very quiet. It was just like being able to balance between them, like when there was a need to be, I want to say disappointed, upset, or something, you were able to explore that without jumping into the deep end and just, going very, very negative with your emotions. But if
Mhm.
some feelings of feeling happy or joy, like you would feel them normally. So I felt like what it did for me was balance some of the stress that I was already dealing with. I overthink a lot. So I create my own anxiety just by thinking like overthinking problems that I'm going through, like how am I going to get through this? How am I going to do this? Like how much money is this going to cost me? Oh, so I can create my own anxiety from just overthinking. And it helped me rationalize a little bit better in my own mind, like, hey, don't sweat the small stuff. Because that being said on its own is meaningless. Like somebody, hey, just smile, just stop being depressed, okay? Like, good job, thank you for what you did. But the medicine was kind of like saying the same thing, but giving you the ability to, okay, you're right. Let me not stress too much about this. I got other things to worry about.
Yeah.
I got a day to get through, for example. So I can't sit here and, stress, because sometimes it could get very heavy to the point where it's like this took over my whole day of me just stressing over this as I'm still working. I'm solving these problems, worrying about this problem, dealing with these issues, worrying about this problem, hanging out with friends, stressing about something for the entire day. And
Mm,
it just let me let go of it so I
mm,
can be in the moments I needed to be in. So if I'm concentrating on work, I could fully concentrate and give my all on that. If I am hanging out with my friends, I could fully be in the moment and enjoy it. It gave me some of those benefits.
and the side effects.
I want to say one of the negative side effects, public safety announcement: do not drink on that stuff.
Pretty
So
sure it says it on the bottle, but
It
proceed.
definitely says it on the bottom. My doctor warned me, but like you hanging out with friends. I'm like, I'm not. I'm gonna tell you too. I'm gonna tell you how it is for real. I'm gonna say it how it
Please do.
is. Um, one of the biggest, like I want to say side effects I had, I called it stealing time because then this is one of the reasons you should probably, if you're ever on antidepressants, you should probably never drink because it increases, I want to say, your ability, if you've ever had it, to just black out. You do
Mm,
not know what you're doing, and your mind is still fully present in a moment, but your body is not. Um, so there would be moments where like, yeah, we're hanging out, and then you blink and there's 45 minutes of time passed and you don't know what you were doing, whether you were sitting there, whether you moved, whether you had a conversation. It made me not want to drink at all. So it was something I learned the hard way. Hopefully no one else has to. Listen to your doctor, please, because they don't tell you why not to do it. They just say don't do it. And I'm like, I'm one of those people I'm inquisitive. I'll press every button in your car. I will flip every switch in your house. So if you tell me not to do it, I need more information so I know why I really don't need to do this. So some stuff isn't worth testing though. And another unsurprising side effect was so before I, was on antidepressants and stuff, I used to journal a lot. So like I had, a little journal. I'd write out, how I'm feeling at the end of the day, what's going on. It's not always bad things, just good things like, hey, the most weird thing happened to me. And throughout my process of, like taking antidepressants, it felt like I lost the ability. And I want to say, like, not necessarily the ability, but the motivation to be more creative.
mm,
That's one of the things that I felt that I had lost during that time. Like, I just lost the motivation to just, it's the end of the night, let me journal or write. Because every time I attempted, it was just drawing a blank, is what it felt like.
mm.
I know there's things that I can write about, but it didn't, I was never in the mood to just let me finish journaling. And I feel like that was one of the things I lost during that time.
Yeah, yeah. The interesting thing about medication is like you take it for one thing, and those side effects are worse than what you're trying to fix. And so
Mhm.
a lot of people are like, mm-mm. Like, I'm just trying to, regulate my colon. And you mean to tell me I might have high blood pressure, diabetes, and lose my left foot? Like, no, I'm
Mhm.
good. And so then we end up having to self medicate. And a lot of
Yeah.
people self medicate just in general. Black folks, we always think ginger ale and some icy
Yeah.
hot and some Vaseline is going to solve
Don't
stuff.
forget saltine crackers. You cannot forget saltine crackers in Ricky Lake. You cannot.
Saltine crackers.
Mhm.
Yes. And it's like, all right, y'all. We gotta advanced medication and medicine and science has allowed us to try something other than ginger ale and saltine crackers. So self-medication.
Self
Or
medication. I feel like a lot can be said about that.
yeah.
I'm not gonna say that I've never self medicated. So like during my I'll call it a battle, slash journey because sometimes it can be a little bit of both. Um, I have chosen to self medicate at times. I would say in my youth, this was like before I recognized I should probably see like a mental health therapist or something. I used to drink a lot. And I didn't realize how much I used to drink
Mhm.
until um, I started noticing, like, all right, I'm drinking a whole lot. And I didn't realize, how much I was abusing alcohol at the time, and me being young, not knowing like, hey, alcohol is a downer. It does not fix anything. It'll help you erase it for the moment, but you'll feel 6 times worse, about whatever it is you were trying to erase as soon as it wears off.
Yeah.
So with that specific part of like self medication, I put rules around it because I was very abusive to it. For a long time, I was very shameful of it. And I've never really talked to people about it. Like, yo, I used to drink a lot of alcohol for no reason. And it wasn't as if I was going through like a lot in life. It was, a lot of my, I want to say like depression modes or just feeling sad, anxious, were tied into relationships. They were tied into relationships with the people I was with at those times, and, not knowing how to process it, not being a great, effective communicator, or mediator or some things. And it was just like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. So I'm going to turn to my man, Jack. I'm going to talk to Captain Morgan right quick. I'm going to drink whatever this is in this bottle. I don't know what it is, but down the hatch. And it was a very, very, bad cycle of destruction. So through that, I created hard rules around drinking, for myself, and learned not to use that in periods of like sadness, depression, because it always makes you feel worse. However, I did find something in self medication that worked, surprisingly well, but it's something that should be done with an asterisk, I would say, which was THC. It was something, like I think I'm on the fence of using it for like self-medication reasons, even though that there's clear benefits, but I do feel like it's something you should use and let your doctor know. Like, that's how I feel, because it's still something you need to process. Like when you're in therapy, you're unpacking all of those boxes that you didn't want to speak on for years. You're pulling those things out, and sometimes you do need assistance within yourself. And I feel like sometimes using CBD or THC takes the edge off so that you're not hesitant or fearful of opening those boxes. But I feel like you can only do that properly when you have a mental health therapist with you. um so stay tuned. I've never, I want to say, self-medicated with a therapist. I am interested of trying it, but I do want to talk to them first before I just walk into a session, just so we both know what's going on,
Hmm.
because I'm curious how that would go. I know by myself, I know how that makes me feel, and it definitely helps me unpack things throughout my day or throughout my week, or just manage my stress when things are very, very hectic in my life. But I do feel like it's one of those things where like, this is fun to do, but if you're using it for the purposes of treating anxiety or depression, or any, mental health illnesses, it's something I believe, bring your doctor into the fold, like you would do so with any other medication. Don't make an exception with this.
Except for the fact that some of us, by law, are not allowed to meet with clients who are under the influence. But, that's besides the point.
Gotta go to Oregon.
So,
Gotta go to Oregon.
the problem with self-medicating is that you lose, it's almost like you lack the ability to have self-control, because you have now conditioned your body. I feel something intense, I now have to
Yeah.
smoke, drink, sniff, whatever. I have to do something. Sex is the thing too. We're
Yeah.
not excluding that from the fold. Um, and it's like you don't train your body how to sit and deal,
Yeah.
right? A
You
lot
just
of
feel the
people,
dependency.
yeah, a lot of people self-medicate because, like you were saying, it's like, I need this thing to go away. It's too much. I'm overwhelmed. I need something. And the whole point of going to therapy, people, is that coping skills are developed. So when you step outside of the counseling office and you're dealing with life, you have skill sets that will help you to manage life stress. Now, I'm not saying that coping skills are 100%, like, just cope with the coping skills. You'll be fine. You
Yeah.
don't need anything else. False. I'm not going to lie to y'all.
Yeah.
I have, like, I don't know, 10 million coping skills, and sometimes I still have strong emotions. But when you self-medicate, you lose a lack of self-control. and then you develop a dependency. You develop a dependency on a person, on a drug, on whatever else you're using in that moment. So self-medicating is definitely dangerous. But like Darren said, doing things alongside a therapist definitely helps. And I'm not, again, I don't just say these things because I'm a therapist myself. This is just what I know. This is what I understand. And so
Yeah.
moving on to the next question. Facing the pain. I think you've talked about it, you kind of touched upon it a lot when you're talking about realizing that you have a problem. And some of us can't avoid life's problems, right? Like we can't avoid the financial burdens. And as a man, there's a lot riding on you guys' shoulders. And I don't think we talked about that. So before I talk about facing the pain, can we talk about, because we have these conversations, y'all, we have these conversations all the time. I call them disarguments, okay?
Oh my
Because
God.
with Darren,
Oh my God.
things start off as a discussion. And, we are two very passionate individuals. And so Darren will say that one thing, and I'm like, nope. And then it quickly turns into an argument. He likes to call them debates.
That's
That's
what they are.
debatable.
That's what they are. I don't like to argue. I like to have debates and discussions.
Well, so let's talk about the gender discrepancies, right? Help us
Mhm.
to understand the weight that men often have to carry on their shoulders, and what about society just kind of forces those narratives, or maybe it's women, maybe we force narratives, because I know you call me out all the time. And so I just want to hear from your lovely, lovely lips. What is it that men have to carry? The burdens, the weight. Help us, teach us, educate us.
Well, I don't think I do a great job of speaking for all men, because there's a lot of categories I just don't fall in myself. But I do think, like men that have a lot of responsibility, like where you're talking about married men that have children, that run businesses, for example, there's a lot that gets placed on your shoulders as being the provider of, like of many. I can't speak too much from personal experience. I can speak to that from me seeing other providers and the stress that they go through. Like I see my pops work himself all the time, as much as he can to provide for his family, to to keep to have a stable household, so that there isn't an issue financially, there isn't an issue. I've seen other men, like, hey, I really got a better job opportunity over here, that would bring me more money, but I can't leave my children. So I'm going to stay in this place so that I can better provide for them. Because as much as this would bring me more money and more income for them, I can't not let them have them in my lives, for example. So I don't think I can speak to all men, but I do think, I would say it's a combination of things. We all go through so much in our lives. We
Mhm.
there's a lot of different things that all men face, but like there's a couple of things that are always constant. You are, regardless of who's in your life or who's not in your life, you're supposed to be the rock. You're supposed to be that stable person that bridges things together. It's not there is no expectation for you to fail as a man, although it does happen. There's no expectation. Like, you still need to pick yourself up. Like, you hear like you hear the football locker room talks. Like, you need, even when you fall, you need to get back up. Regardless. Like, it's not take a break, figure out what's wrong, get back up and get back to work. Like, you have people that are dependent on you. You have people that need you. So you do not get to show weakness for any reason. Cover it up. Whether that's with alcohol, with women, with weed, cover it up and get back to work. That's what's expected, and there isn't really room in a lot of men's spaces for them to have conversations about it. Talking to other men, like, I've only just discovered like groups of men where they can speak, like to each other about, hey man, I'm really going through X, Y, and Z. And then, these are other brothers trying to have conversations with them. Not necessarily, like to console, but console if necessary, where we can speak about our problems openly to each other. And it's not a, man, something wrong with you. Nah, that's gay. Like stop talking like that. Like something wrong with you. Like, you sure you ain't just, just come on, just have a drink with me. Let's have a shot. Like we got to change the mood, instead of it being that, like men themselves are, are harsh on us as well. Like, I don't want to put the blame on just, like one specific gender. Like, I don't want to say it's women, that are just causing the issues or anything. Like, men themselves put a lot of pressure on each other as well.
Mhm.
Like sometimes we can be our harshest criticizers. Like, like think of like alpha males that are just like, I'm expected to take care of my whole family. They're not, they're not going to be the best ones equipped to say, hey, I'm really going through something. I need to talk to you, and nah, what you need to talk about, just put up and get to work. Come on, work. Like,
Mhm.
we don't have time to sit down and talk. It's time to put in some work. So it really depends. I feel like it really depends on the person, what they're dealing with, and what their environment is like.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't have family members or friends or church, church events that they feel comfortable speaking to. Because that's what it boils down to for the most part. Who do you feel comfortable around? I can't say that there is a lot of people I feel comfortable sharing, some of my harder issues, because my fear is you probably gonna think I'm overreacting. You probably gonna think it's not that big of a deal. You stressing over nothing. Stop being dramatic. So for me, I'm not gonna share. Like if I even perceive that that's how you're going to take it, where I'm trying to come to you, and what I think is a safe space, I'm going to not share. I have male friends where, you can't speak to them about anything emotionally because they don't know how to deal with it. Like we as men aren't necessarily taught on how to tackle emotional issues. So I might have friends that need help. They don't have anybody in their circle that could assist them emotionally or mentally, because all they're hanging out with other men. Which is why you see a lot of men, and I hate to make it look like this, where we rely on our women, for those traumas. We rely on our women for, the issues that we're going through, because a lot of men, the only person that they can speak to is their girl.
Mhm.
And unintentionally, they end up becoming our therapists. They end up becoming our emotional regulators. They end up becoming the person that will solve all of our heart's problems, because that's the only place we feel safe. I can't go talk to the bros about this. Pops, my pop's too busy. He ain't got time for this. He don't even live in this area anyway. My mom wouldn't understand. Like, but my girl, she gets me, and I'm gonna give it all to her. All the baggage I had in the last relationship I wasn't able to resolve, I'm gonna give it to you now. All of the issues that I had, growing up, you can take care of them. And it
Mhm.
causes a weird dynamic in the relationships where you're not my therapist, but you about to be. Like, I got problems I need to unload. So while we talking over dinner, while I'm taking you on these dates, deal with this. And it's not fair. I'm not saying that to be it's fair, but I know it happens. I've
Mhm.
personally done it in my past myself. And it's not a good feeling because it's kind of hard for us to reciprocate it. You feel me? We're not necessarily learning how to, reciprocate the emotional, the emotional, you know, em- what am I trying to say? The emotional feelings that we're getting, for lack of a better term here. So we end up just that felt great. That felt amazing. You made me feel real good. Now I don't know how to repay you back for this. I don't know how to give you anything else out of this, but I got more issues you can help me solve. Or I got more baggage if you're willing to deal with it.
Your
So
twin's helping you out. Your twin is saying emotional support.
emotional support. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you.
You know, first of all, he keeps telling me I need to write a book. Do you hear the gems that this man is dropping? You need to write a book. Just a side note. And you brought up the church, and I I'm churchy. It happens. There's a scripture that talks about how the strong ought to bear the burdens or the infirmities of the weak. And for weeks on end, for the past 4 weeks, I've been talking about how men can develop community, because the problem is exactly what you said. Women, we are inclined to show up emotionally for anybody in our circle, right? And then the problem that we men, I can't say we, but the problem that men face, thank you, Melisha, appreciate it. The thing about men is, like you were saying, first of all, it's hard to show up for yourself, yet alone showing up for each other, yet alone showing up for your lady, sister, mother, daughter, whatever, right? All of these things are in place. And so, you know, first of all, you just shared a whole lot of wisdom, and I was just sitting here like, "Oh, best friend." I really want you to share more about, like, how can men show up for men, of course, but also emotional intelligence. How do men obtain emotional intelligence? Does it come through therapy? Does it come through conversations with their female counterparts? Does it come through sitting with self, reading books? Because he reads books, he watches podcasts. This man be like consuming knowledge, which is also why I brought him on here. So, hey, my mom is here. Hey,
I
mama.
think I think it comes from a point. I don't want to say it's like one specific thing you can do. I think like men, we can benefit from learning fellowship. Where we are able to keep ourselves accountable. Because I believe that's the one way that this will work, like men being able to hold men accountable, because it's not, no woman can tell me my boundaries and how to set them, for example. You can give me lessons on what I need to be mindful of, how to set boundaries in the first place, but you wouldn't be able to speak to me about what my boundaries are and what I need to do to project them, for example. Because, and it's not, you lack the knowledge or anything. We are men. Like just like you are women. So there are things that are always going to be unique between us, where you can't come to another man and learn more about yourself. You would have to speak to other sisters. So if there's issues and things that are, that are deriving from me, I need to be able to, have a fellowship of men that I can speak to, so that everyone around me can start to benefit. Like if I'm in a relationship, I can be able to tell you better what my boundaries are, what I need, how I feel about something, because I'm learning from other men that have been there, done that. Like these are, men that have been in marriages, men that have gone through divorces, for example, that know pain and know also how to climb out of that pain by their own hands or with God's help as well. So I do think a lot of what we can do is, create spaces where men are able to talk to men about these issues, so that the stigmas can be removed, so that no matter who's coming their way, because sometimes women bring men down too. So we need to be able to learn how to deal with that, because abuse is never the answer, but understanding, hey, I know how to speak to you. You don't exist within my boundaries, so I'm gonna need you to stop talking at this moment. Like I'm not about to go back and forth with you, but I'm not going to deal with this as well. So I do think it makes, it is very beneficial for men to have spaces where, you got young boys coming in, that they need help with. You got teenagers coming in where they can speak to, older men about, I've gone through this when I was 16. For example, let me hopefully try to teach you some things that I wish I knew when I was your age going through this. I had a father that passed. Let me tell you some of the things that helped me, that it took me decades to learn, but I want to be able to teach you so that you don't have to suffer the same fate that I did.
Mm.
Like there's a lot of different things that only men can impart to men. And I believe, where it comes to like mental health, where it comes to like removing stigmas, it falls on men to bring in those spaces and create them for the youth and for men that are either too stubborn, too prideful to say, hey, I have an issue. We know, bro. Come on over here and come talk to us anyway.
Mm.
We know you're going through something. You ain't got to tell us what it is. Just come listen. Like you
Mm.
don't have to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Just listen to other people talk about their problems and see them open up. Like it's very hard to find trusting men that care about you, to the point where they want to see you rise above your struggles, rise above the things that you are, like that are pushing you down. Like the world already does that enough. So finding people that you can create a circle and fellowship with, I think is like one of the most beneficial ways for men.
Mm.
Like that's not to say women can't help. I just think that in this space, men need to speak to men. I had a pastor say, "Iron sharpens iron" before.
Yeah, it's Bible. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Sir, we bringing you back, so you might as well get all the jitters out now. You're coming back. Learn how to fellowship, sir. That's good. That's rich. It's one thing to have conversation, but fellowship is like that deep, intimate
Mm-hmm.
conversation. It's communication. And outside of the communication, it's embracing, right?
Right.
Men embracing men is not a quote unquote gay thing like that. Who else, like you were saying, who better to do that than someone who understands the struggle? Like, I can understand because I am a Black female. So I understand the Black struggle, but do I understand the Black man struggle?
Mm-hmm.
No. No. And there's only so much consoling I can do where it's like, I'm gonna give you the love, I'm gonna embrace you, I'm gonna give you encouraging words. But I don't know. I don't know. We have a question in the audience. Your mama said,
You can see questions.
"Go, Marco." Anyway,
I'm not gonna survive a part two.
I'm proud to
I'm
call
not,
him my best friend, Mama
I'm not gonna
Karen.
survive a part two.
Question from my mama, Sister Harrison writes, when should you start teaching these issues to young men so that they aren't going through what you went through? Now, before we said this, you mentioned that you lost your father, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how, first of all, when did masculinity, manhood, all of those things, like how to be a man in the world, who taught it to you? How young were you? And we talked about it before, like when you have kids and when you're going to start having these real life conversations with them. So since you're an uncle, since you're a man in the world, let's talk. When is
Okay.
it time to introduce hard subjects to young men so they're not repeating the same cycle?
I feel like the minute you recognize, like that, we're talking about, like young boys that they're starting to act out in ways that aren't necessarily, I want to say normal. You got a young boy that, hey, he literally does not talk to anyone everywhere else. The only person he talks to is his brother. For example, like that's a start right there. Like recognizing one, your kids are introverts and not extroverts. They aren't going to talk to everybody. um, I don't think it's a specific age. I think it's a mindset because all children don't, like they don't grow, they don't evolve the same, and they don't, they all don't live in the same environment. So I think it's a mindset. The minute your kid, like you feel your kid knows right from wrong in their actions, you should start teaching them about the consequences of that. You should start teaching them, what the after effects of those consequences are. Yeah, you got that butt whipping, right? You remember that? How's that making you feel? Like that's a good opportunity right there to start talking to them. Yeah, there's discipline. Let me talk to you after that. Tell me how you feel. Let's talk about why I had to do this. For example, you didn't like a choice I made. As a parent, let's start talking about and processing how you feel. I feel like there's a difference in, like I want to say for the past generation, there was a difference in how you raised your young girls versus how you raised your young boys. And the
Mm.
emotional coddling, and the emotional intelligence where you get to explore, oh, what happened, that hurt, oh, it's going to be okay, what do you need, that went to the young girls. And you can see it in a difference. That same boy, you got a young boy that falls, oh, come on, you're a big boy, man, remember, you strong, you good, just pick it up, come on, look, that don't even hurt, do it, come on, pick it up and keep moving. And I'm like, he has emotions too. You just
Say that.
completely dismissed him and told him to just toughen up as a
Yeah.
little boy. Like he needs an opportunity to cry as well. Um,
Yeah.
it doesn't make him a sissy. He's not going to grow up and be, like beta on any level, but he still needs to be able to explore his emotions because if he doesn't, he's just forcing them down. And some young girl is going to get it in on the back end somewhere, and neither one of them will understand why this took place. Because
Mm.
everybody is telling him to suck it up. So he has all this rage that he does not know where to put, and it's just going to go somewhere else, and the parent completely misses it because it's not going to go to them.
Mm.
When kids act out, the first thing that you do is, oh, you think you big and bad, huh? You think you tough, huh? Like, no, they're going through something. They don't know how to process these emotions, especially young boys. So I think it's more of a mindset and what you see your child doing before
Mhm.
you start just saying, let me start hitting them with hard facts. Jesus, is your Lord and Savior, right? Santa isn't real, right? Like it's a mindset, like everybody don't start with Santa's not real. It's a certain phase that they get to where I get them gifts, right? I'm the one bringing in the bacon. So stop this Santa stuff. Like, no,
You
no,
know,
it was me and the Lord. So thank
period.
you.
Y'all, you think my kid's gonna be glorifying this little fat white man? You got nothing coming. I'm like, me, your father, and Jesus Christ Himself is the reason why them presents are under the tree. Anyway,
Yeah.
your
I
brother Darrell said something very huge, and I wanted to highlight it before we move on.
mhm.
It's the second part where he said, in boys and most people focus on them being tough and they lose their ability to connect that way.
Yeah.
Connectedness, human connectedness is what the world is missing. If you ask me, in my personal opinion, that's what's missing. And
Mhm.
Darrell mentioned something huge, and you were alluding to it earlier. It's like, why don't we allow people to emote? Like, again, girls were allowed to cry, have whole temper tantrums and diva fits, whatever it is. But for a boy to cry, and then the first thing you say is, you little sissy or you little wimp, I'm sorry. It's those gender roles and those gender norms and
Mhm.
those stigmas. I'm like, do you not realize that this little 5-year-old boy who rightfully should cry because he just busted his little face off of his bike, he is going to turn into a 25-year-old man who does not emote, who does not know how to handle his problems, and he's probably going to be extremely aggressive because you met his vulnerability with aggression.
Yeah. And he was never allowed to express it. Like,
And he wasn't.
it's like the world forgets for a moment that men have emotions until we crack, until there's an abuse, until it's domestic violence. It's like they
Mm,
forget until it's very, very, very chaotic. And it's like, well, what made him so unhinged? I'm like, probably years of suppressing emotions.
yes.
Like, not
Yes.
having somebody to do it. And this one girl was literally saving his universe by being there for him. And she's not the person equipped for that. Like
Mm,
she's not his mentor, she's not his therapist, and like no one in a relationship is equipped to handle your emotions. They can help you go through them, they can help you talk through them, but they should be the first one saying, "We need to go get you some help." Because I can't do this by myself. And you see a lot of women say that because they're fighting silent battles, of, men that are ticking time bombs where it's just they never had an opportunity to just express frustration
mhm,
in a normal capacity that wasn't punching a wall, that wasn't destroying property, that wasn't, like hitting somebody or something. They had no normal way of processing normal emotions. Like everyone gets upset, everyone feels
mhm.
anger, everyone feels disappointment and frustration, but they have no normal outlet because no one ever gave them that opportunity or showed them like, hey, you're frustrated, it's okay, like take a deep breath. Are you good? You good? Okay, now talk to me. What's the matter? How do you feel?
Mhm.
Like no one gives that to a lot of people, so you end up with these guys and there's so many domestic violence issues because these dudes don't know how to communicate.
Mm.
No one teaching them because all we need to be able to do is be work ready. We need to be able to bring
Mm.
them in. We need to be able to, provide on some level, and just that's it.
Fran, You know what? Next time you on here, I'm gonna just like throw a question. I'm gonna turn my camera completely off, and I'm gonna just let you go because
I don't want that attention.
y'all,
That's
Darren
too
dead,
much.
ladies and gentlemen.
That's too much.
You said something, and we definitely have to we have to like wrap up soon. But we will not overlook what you said earlier in the conversation. You mentioned that we have unhinged men, and it wasn't like, oh, all men are just aggressive, we're just gonna slap you upside the head just because it is years of being overlooked, it is years of silence pain, it is years of holding in, and like a plethora of emotions, feelings, and thoughts,
Hmm.
and then that turns into abusive men. You know, post traumatic slave syndrome is something that I had to educate myself on. Um,
Mm.
and one of the major topics about what post traumatic slave syndrome is saying is that this thing is generational. From slavery, both black men and women were conditioned to get up and go, feel the pain, get knocked down, get up and go. And so we were never given the opportunity, or the culture was never created where it's like, hold on, pause, let's stop and think. What are you feeling? What just happened in your world? We're not privileged enough to do that. So I say to my people all the time, we have to create the culture. Create the culture, because it's not created for us. As people of color, systems in this world are not created for us. So what we have to do is we have to create our own daggone system.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you see it happening. You see it happening now. Like you see forums like this, for example, where people are able to talk about things. For example, we're millennials. I call millennials curse breakers, because we were the
Period.
generation that started questioning. It's not okay to just raise your children like this. It's how you subjected me to this pain when I was young. We need to talk about this because I don't want my children to deal with this because I didn't resolve it yet. You have a lot of millennials out there that are questioning the norms of parenting, of culture, because they see the issues. And it's our generation that's breaking it, and it's generation, it's the Gen Zers that benefit from that because they get to be able to be uniquely themselves in this moment because they have little brothers, little, big brothers, big sisters, uncles, like that are millennials saying, hey, yeah, we not doing the same thing no more. We're not, raising our children the same way that we were raised because it's definitely toxic. It's been toxic. You can't just whip my ass, send me to bed, and don't talk to me about this. You can't do that. Like, it's not right.
That
Like,
whole like,
what
shut
I'm,
up before
you
I give
still,
you something to
still might
cry
get your
about.
butt whooped, but you might get a conversation about why this was affecting you, or you might get a different, discipline altogether because it might not have been what was needed based on what they did. Like you see a lot of people trying their best to redefine the cultures, try to change some of the landscape, to make it more better, because there's more generations coming than just us right here. Like it's the benefit us because we're the ones dealing with it. Like you have people that are traumatized by how they were raised, for example. You have a lot of people that have not healed from spaces, like from when they were a child or when they were teenagers. You have people that have unhealthy views of relationships just simply because of what they witnessed as a child.
Mhm.
And this is the moment to say, hey, I'm gonna go get my therapy. I'm gonna come back. We need to talk. Because I need to learn why you did what you did, so I know not to make sure my kids don't suffer the same fate. They're gonna learn
Mm.
something totally different, and to do that, I need to bring you, the older generation, into the fold because you're gonna be babysitting them.
Yeah.
I don't want you to babysit my kids the way you raised me. For example,
Hmm. Mm.
and that
You
means
know,
talk.
I remember the conversation we had about it was after Thanksgiving or around that time, and we were talking about the foods that we eat, and you got so mad. You was like, "Hey, yo, at some point, we need to remember we ain't on old masses plantation no more. Like we are
Yeah,
advanced
we gotta let some
humans.
stuff
We
go.
no longer need. He was talking about we don't need to be eating chitlins.
We gotta
We
let that
don't need to be eating all of that nasty meat. Like we're advanced, y'all. We're no longer struggling like that.
go.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's move forward.
It's when
And
oh my gosh,
huh?
yeah, we gotta let that go because you think about the generations of high blood pressure and diabetes, especially in Black families, it's directly tied to what we ate growing up, like what we considered soul food. We know that stuff is not healthy. It's delicious though. It is delicious, but yeah,
Yeah.
chitlins don't belong on the table no more. I'm just saying, pig feet don't belong on the table no more. I'm sure a lot of people are gonna be like, nah, I gotta keep that pig feet. You can have it, just do it in moderation, man.
All right, before we wrap up, your mama had a question. Do you think the lack of male guidance contributes to a black man's mental state?
Absolutely.
Negative mental
Um,
state.
like absolutely. I feel like either it's either or, not just a negative. I think a lack of a male in anyone's life has an impact. You don't know what that is until they're fully grown, they're adults, because you don't know what they were supposed to learn from those people. I was fortunate enough to have, like after my father passed, more than one father figure in my life. I've had uncles that filled that role. I had my pops that filled that role, for example. So over time, I still did learn, like better ways of communication, better understandings of what healthy relationships looks like, like, hey, what a marriage looks like, like a healthy marriage looks like, for example. So I was blessed to have that, but you do have some young men that don't have that. You do, that they don't see, dads being dads, for example, like, hey, son, I know I'm busy, but we're gonna shoot some hoop on Saturday, like I promise you. Like you don't see dads coming in to do stuff like that and then keeping their promises, because where you learn accountability, where you learn patience, where you learn discipline, where you learn structure, it's from your parents, and both parents impart something different on you in those moments that you can learn and grow from. And I just think there's, like single mothers do a wonderful job taking care of their children, because you're still a parent. You're still doing what you can do. But I don't think there's anything in this universe that can replace a male's presence in any
Yeah,
child's life,
period.
especially a young boy's life,
Yeah.
because it's easy, it's easy to take care of a kid, but then if you don't have a role model there for them to mimic, for them to say, this is exactly why I need to work out and get my six-pack, because I want to have a six-pack like daddy, or something like that, or you see that, you see the things that he's able to do, I want to do things like that.
Yeah.
It's not saying, like, kids can't mimic their moms. They do. And that could be to their detriment or to their benefit all the time. But I feel like there are men that need to be in people's lives where they can see them doing this. Like, what it's like to wake up at 6 in the morning and go straight to work and, put that work in. You see that every time your dad leaves. You come back tired. Dang, what you been doing, daddy? Working. I'm gonna take you with me one day so you can see what's going on. You might like it, you might not. Like I feel like men need to provide that structure for their children,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're in the relationship or not. I think it's very important.
Mm.
I always say I'm biased because I did lose my dad at a young age. So anytime I hear people that like have issues like with their fathers, for example, or like my dad is a POS, or something like that, and I'm like, hey, hold on, he's still alive, so there's time to salvage things. It's not going to be easy, but there's time to salvage things. I bet you might want to solve it before things get before it gets too late, because then you're going to end up with a bunch of regrets about why I couldn't ask about this, why I had questions about this, I didn't get a chance to see you do this. So take the moment, like it ain't easy. Some relationships cannot be salvaged, and that's unfortunate, but he's still alive, so you have an opportunity, and he does as well, to make things right, or for you both to be present.
Mm.
Like I'm a big fan of better late than never, because I don't get to ask my dad those hard questions. He does not get to see me grow up, and become a man that's likely mimicking a lot of things that he's done in his life, unbeknownst to me. So he
Mm.
does not get to see that, and I don't get to benefit from that as well. Like I'm fortunate to have, a father figure still in my life, but it's nothing that, there's nothing that can replace your own dad. So
Yeah.
I'm always biased to that. Like, yo, your dad's still alive. Chill out. Like, help him fix himself so you can have that relationship you need with him. Because when he's gone, you're gonna have a heart of regrets, a heart full of them.
Yes, 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 yes. Finger snaps, all of that. Absolutely. Now, y'all see, well, those of you who know Jermaine and
Hey, I
Darren,
got
Jermaine
popcorn.
is hyper and overly protective of this one. Now you see why. This man is a gem to the world. He is a gift from the good Lord above. And, unfortunately, sometimes it just goes sour. But anyway,
You know,
Darren is great.
she's saying.
Darren will be back because he is dropping a whole lot of gems. And he is, yes, I think, was it Jeremiah that said something about a podcast now, friend? We can do a podcast together. You know what I'm saying? Me, you, your twin, whomever, we can do this because
I got a buddy that got the podcast equipment right now, but you don't live in this area, so
seeing the beauty of podcasts is that you can do it virtually.
okay, okay.
Anyways, y'all, I am so grateful for you guys chiming in. Your audience, your family, your people are great. Yes, Jeremiah. Hey, listen, you have my information. Get it from him. We can do this. I am so down. So down. Down with the brown. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for joining in. Darren, I'm so proud of you, best friend. You did great.
You're doing
I
great as well. Like,
am amazed by the gems that you are able to drop on the fly when you're nervous and your whole family's here. Hey, listen, half the people on here are his people. Okay. So, family, my extended family, Aunt Glow, Mama Karen, Alicia, Auntie
you see,
Joyce, Darrell, all of your family. Hello.
you see who's up.
Hi. Thank you for sharing him with the world. I appreciate it. So, next week, we're going to continue moving right along. Next week, we have Traquan. Traquan is talking about men raising men. So Darren was talking about, the last thing
Ooh,
he was talking
yes.
about was having an influence and all of these other father figure roles. Traquan is a father.
Mhm.
So maybe next week we will bring this on and, we'll see what tomorrow is. But again, Darren, thank you so much. You know I love you. I all hearts. This is my
You're
best friend,
welcome.
y'all.
You're welcome,
I
best friend.
appreciate you. I
Thank you
appreciate
for
you.
having a platform for people like me and the men before me to speak on. It does bring a lot of insight for people that may have been interested, for people that don't know, like, hey, everybody in the world suffers a lot, but men suffer, differently. Because I don't, we're not about to make a gender, a war over here or anything. Like, we suffer differently.
There you go. That was
But I want to thank you for having this platform.
of
Like, just
course.
speak.
Darren's one of my greatest supporters, BT Dubs. Like I don't know a thing that I've done that he hasn't supported. So this is what best friendship looks like, healthy relationships looks like. Anyways, next week, 7:30 p.m. I will be bringing on Traquan. You guys have a blessed night. I hope you guys will share this with your family, with your friends, whoever. Oprah, Steve Harvey. Listen, just
Yeah,
let
you
the
need to bring Steve
Lord
Harvey in. Yeah, bring Steve Harvey.
use
I got a
you.
suit I want to wear.
Listen, we're both introverts, but I mean, I can be on someone's television. You know what I'm saying?
I'll,
So
I'll be
somebody knows somebody.
I'll be behind the camera. I'm not trying to be on TV.
Thank you, Darrell. Send it. Send it
I'm not trying to be on TV.
wherever. You don't gotta be on it. I'll be on it. It's fine. I'll drag you, pull you on. You can be like my publicist or something. Anyway, we're getting way off topic. You guys have a blessed night. Thank you guys for coming in and sharing and commenting and liking and all of the things. I hope to see you guys next week, 7:30 with Traquan talking about men raising men. Have a blessed night. I love you all. Thank you so
Also,
much.
check out her past videos too. That's it. That's all I'm saying. That's that.
A period, best friend. Bye, guys.